the Intercultural Toolbox podcast.
Thank you, Richard. And it's a pleasure to be here and to share some ideas and thoughts as the podcast progresses.
Well, delighted to be speaking with you today, and we are here to talk about volunteering. But before we do that, Guy Bondonneau, you are running an intercultural training and consultancy company called On Intercultural. Can you say a little bit about what is On Intercultural?
On Intercultural comes from what I wanted to do and to share my intercultural experience, which I was actually born multicultural from a Swedish mother and a French father. So we already have two cultures there. And then as a very young child, I was 5 or 6, we moved to Montevideo in Uruguay, where I learned about another culture, South American, and yet another language. And then I was brought up in the French system and moved to Zurich to do my studies at Zurich Polytechnic. So from the beginning I have a bit of a nomadic life, and again multicultural, very many experiences. I then went and worked for a while into what is now Bangladesh, before landing in London and totally assimilating the English culture, sense of humor and control of sarcasm.
The British sarcasm, kind of cutting dark humour, a little bit on attack mode. We don't do that here on the Intercultural Toolbox podcast, but I did once upon a time in my life have the nickname Sarkas Farkas, so I guess I have lost it. I've been too long in the Nordic region. But tell me a little bit more about this British connection then. At what stage in your life did you arrive in English culture?
That was, I came to London, I still remember the day, 21st of February 1970. So you can imagine I've had plenty of time to learn about English. When I first came here, I was working at the French Chamber of Commerce as a PR and editor of the magazine, and there were very few people. There was a managing director and a secretary, and a secretary as in accounting, and we had a secretary to whom I was dictating some letters, and I was using the usual French form of I remain yours truly, etc., blah 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 blah, and she fell off her chair laughing. I said, "You can't do that in English." So I said, I better learn something here. And for the next few weeks I found a little book written by, I think it was an Australian, roughly well spoken, and it was all phonetic. So I trained in the morning, went to the office with my bad French accent, which I still have not quite lost. When I am very tired, it is very difficult for me to speak in a very good English. And so then suddenly one day I thought, well, I have to launch myself. And I launched myself in reasonably good English. What is interesting is that English has 7 times more words than French, but in conversation the French use more of their few words than the English use fewer of their more words, and so it's interesting that I was more precise in my expression after my first year at the French Chamber of Commerce, through effort, learning, reading, I became quite a Brit. So I became the most British of the French in London, of which they are quite numerous. London at the time, well, recently was the sixth French city.
Ah, yes, and one of the centres of French life in London seems to be very close to our office in South Kensington. So you walk the streets there, you see many French institutions and aspects of French culture. Wonderful, wonderful to see. But tell me about this On Intercultural name. It's a very powerful, simple, positive name, On Intercultural. You see many kind of genres of business name in our field, like a little bit random, like Blue Rocket, intercultural consulting, or many things related to globes and compasses and so forth. But On Intercultural is quite distinct. So tell me, how did you come up with the name?
No, it was simply because I thought, how can I express what the company does, and in a concise way. And I had gone through various words and combinations, and none of them were really satisfactory. And the more concise I became, then I certainly came to the realization that why not say what it's about, On Intercultural, because about intercultural doesn't sound very good, but On Intercultural, and the on is in lowercase, intercultural is the first letter is in uppercase. So it's there again, what is important is not the on, but the intercultural.
Well, it's brilliant. I love it. It's very simple, powerful, On Intercultural, wonderful. But I need to give you some congratulations, because you have recently been celebrating getting certified as a, let me get this right, ESSEC mediator. Is that right?
Thank you. Yes, I've known for a long time that I've known for a long time that I am certifiable, but now I've come to the reality that after months of training, I followed the ESSEC, which is a French management school, quite well known by professors in the school, and videos and things, exercises, and I ended up with a certificate which was very pleasing. I got reasonable marks on it, and they take you through practical exams, theoretical tests, and all sort of things. So yeah, thank you.
Well, from what I heard, it was a really tough course, so a great achievement. But tell me, in what context do mediators do their thing? In which situations are they needed?
Mediation basically is a process of conversation, which is important, communication, set up by a neutral third party, the mediator, to help two or more parties, come to an arrangement on their differences on a voluntary and consensual manner. So that is basically what a mediator does. Basically what I'm saying is I try and help people stop from hitting each other.
Well, metaphorically, I hope, although I can see that there are plenty of roles around the world for mediators to really stop some people hitting each other and other acts of violence. So important stuff for sure. Another area of important work that you do is in the volunteering space, which is what we've promised to talk about today. So maybe we could return to this fascinating topic of mediation in a later show. But just for now, let's move ahead to the core topic. I want to hear from you. What is volunteering, and what does it mean in your life and your professional work?
I think volunteering is an important aspect of professional life, because why would one volunteer? Why would one give one's time for free and time, effort? Because one wants to help. If you want to help other people, you don't think about you think about the other, which right now we are in dire help of. And also by volunteering, you extend your network, you meet more people, you go outside maybe you even go outside your comfort zone with helping or people you never imagined would happen. Like I remember when I was doing my military service in France, which in those days was compulsory, to my sins, and I came across people who couldn't read and write. And I thought, this is incredible. I thought everybody in France could read and write. So again, it was about helping and building a relationship with the other person. Also, you learn quite a lot. You learn maybe new skills, or you explore new skills. You learn the other. If you have an open mind, you will learn about the other if you know how to listen. And one would build quite strong bonds with the group around you, and also the recipient of your volunteering. And also, so it builds, all things being said, respect for diversity, and diversity is an important part of life. And the world presently is shrinking too much. Everybody's thinking about very narrow subjects, and things such as appropriation, and there is not enough understanding and listening. So diversity is an important aspect of life, has always been, but it needs to be recognized.
Guy, what is special about volunteering? Why not get those kind of experiences of diversity, the sense of helping others, from your core professional work, paid work as a consultant or trainer?
Well, volunteering is having an activity slightly outside your professional life. I mean, if you imagine that you're working as, I don't know, as a solicitor or an accountant or whatever, and you become very good in your field, and you build up contacts within that field, whereas volunteering, suddenly we saw that during the pandemic, people went out distributing food parcels, giving help to neighbors they had never talked to before, sort of, can I borrow some sugar? And so there is the importance of volunteering is going outside your circle, outside yourself, and outside your comfort zone.
Okay, I get that. Let's make it more specific now. What kind of volunteering are you doing?
In practice, if we keep to the theme of diversity, I volunteer for an organization called SIETAR. SIETAR stands for Society for Intercultural Education.
Training? I guess the T is training.
Training, yes. Sorry, I went blank. Training and research, SIETAR. And SIETAR was founded in the US in 1974 as an interdisciplinary network for trainers and researchers. It's at the same time maybe as I'm not very good at names, with Hofstede and maybe other less well-known or well-known people who started to have an interest in what is intercultural, and so that is how SIETAR came to be. I don't have any up-to-date figures, but in 2004 it had 3,000 members. Now, interestingly enough, it has the status of NGO with the UN, so it's well recognized and well established. Now, SIETAR broadened, went abroad, and is now in a number of countries. I'm concerned with SIETAR UK. There is such a thing as SIETAR EU, Europe, which is not an umbrella but tries to bring together all the various national SIETARs and to synchronize their activities, and so they speak to each other. I'm volunteering at SIETAR UK, and simply because I was a member, and the president Adrian Pilbeam asked me. They were looking for a treasurer, and he said, you were a banker, so you can be our treasurer. And I thought, well, why not? So in that way I can help, because I'm in touch with lots of the board members. I'm in touch with members of the society, and explore that way.
Yeah, so you can use your banking knowledge in your volunteering role. Yeah, indeed, we skipped over a very long, diverse career. The intercultural part, the thing you do now, is actually rather a recent thing in your life. Is that right?
That is correct, yeah.
Was joining SIETAR part of this process of becoming an interculturalist, this career change?
When I looked at intercultural and I wanted to become an intercultural trainer and consultant, simply through my own personal life and experience, I went to a training course organized by Adrian Pilbeam in in England, and he then introduced me to SIETAR. He was a member of the board, and so that is how I came to know about SIETAR. And then he became president, and as we were getting on reasonably well, as one does with one's president, then yeah, that is how the link. But something that I always have been wanting, and I feel comfortable with, helping other people, and therefore having tried very many professions. I'm a civil engineer, but I've been a banker, I've been a purchasing agent, I've been an interior designer, I've been a web designer. Design was something I enjoyed doing because it was creative, but at the same time, as I was creating, I was helping other people. I was helping my client in achieving what they wanted to achieve. So the helping others has always been strong in my mind. Now I've decided that I should concentrate on doing that, hence the mediation.
So becoming an interculturalist coincided with the joining and eventually volunteering for SIETAR then, and how has that gone? Have you found it a good way to connect with interculturalists, other interculturalists, or was that happening naturally anyway?
I was meeting other interculturalists through meetings at SIETAR, but the commitment I had to SIETAR obviously was as a member, a bit as an outsider, as a tourist somewhere. But when I looked at it more closely before deciding to become the treasurer, then I started looking at how it worked, what it did, what one could contribute to it, and what it could contribute to me, and also how I would fit in their setup, and how it would fit in my life, and it seemed to dovetail rather nicely.
So you're an ex-banker and you got pulled into the role of Treasurer of SIETAR UK. What other roles exist? What are the other volunteers doing at SIETAR?
Other volunteers are, well, the President, all the board members are volunteers, and they give freely of their time and effort. So there is an event organizer, there is a membership organizer, there is a mentorship organizer, and a few other activities, but they all organize something, and they take on. Right now we are one person short, which is an IT person. I'm standing in, but it's taking up quite a bit of time, and we need help with a new IT volunteer.
You heard it here first. If you're in the UK, you've got IT skills, you're interested in the intercultural world, there is a role at SIETAR you might be interested in. Actually, these are all voluntary roles, is that right? There are no paid
entirely
roles.
voluntary. Well, no, there is a paid role, like the accountants obviously have to earn a fee, but otherwise no, everything is on a voluntary basis. We have one director who handles the volunteering, towards immigrants, and she's doing an absolutely brilliant job with organizing. She's got another SIETAR volunteer with her to organize sessions to train advisors to help immigrants. That's quite an important activity.
Tell me a little bit more about the kind of range of activities that SIETAR volunteers are working on.
Well, for example, the mentoring program is very much organizing mentors and mentees, and we have a list of mentors. And members can apply to have a mentor, so they become mentees, and there are quarterly results looking at what was done, how is it progressing, how is it helping. I had a mentor, he's been absolutely wonderful, and he's not a member of the board, but he's a member of SIETAR and has been for a long time, and it's this support network for various activities. The website, for the time being, we are looking at various improvements we can bring, membership things, and as we progress, and especially if we have somebody joining us, there'll be a few things to bring together on the website. So it becomes a hub of information for members and non-members who hopefully will join.
I'm fascinated by the mentoring, which you've mentioned a couple of times. It sounds like a huge benefit, especially for members who are transitioning into an intercultural career as you were. Is that unique to SIETAR UK, or is it happening in SIETAR organisations elsewhere too? Do you know?
I don't think other SIETARs do it. We have Gabriela, who does looks after the mentoring, and she's doing a brilliant job there, and organizing the mentors, and we have people who have joined SIETAR to be able to join the mentoring program. So it's slowly the word is getting around that is one of the things we offer.
So let me get this straight. The mentoring that you've mentioned is not mentoring around integration into the cultures in the UK. It is mentoring as professional development for interculturalists. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's it's about getting, like any mentoring program, getting support, having a mentor to exchange, to bring you ideas, to share his or her knowledge and experience, so you can progress. And hopefully, if I was a mentor, I would love to see my mentee progress and go further than I went. That would be quite an achievement.
So some of this sounds like really serious business. An NGO recognised by the United Nations, thousands of members, there's some admin work to do there. You're handling the money, more serious stuff. some real responsibilities there. But is there a social side? Is it fun? Do people get together and just hang out as interculturalists?
There is. We do. SIETAR organizes seminars and webinars, and we had unfortunately he couldn't carry on, but we started a cooking class. And it was all very relaxed and great fun. We have a summer event when COVID allowing. We would be having drinks and a chat with the people we maybe haven't seen for a long time, and reconnect. So we take our work seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. That's very important.
Sounds like an excellent philosophy. Now, tell me, you're currently looking for someone with IT skills. You were recruited into your volunteers role as an ex-banker. You have that financial skills. What kind of skills do you need to be a good SIETAR volunteer? Do you need a PhD, a doctorate in intercultural studies, to be a useful member of the team of volunteers at SIETAR, or is it also open to absolute beginners?
And no, beginners can get involved as well. What you need to you can join SIETAR as a member either because you want to bring something, or because you want to exchange your network. We also have students who join us. We have a membership level for students, which is a reduced rate, obviously. And so students who are learning or doing research for their PhD or whatever are welcome to join. You don't have to be to have a PhD to be able to contribute. That would be far too serious.
But let's talk about the future, because I guess SIETAR is moving in a certain direction. How do you see volunteering and what SIETAR volunteers do evolving over the coming years?
Well, we can. There's a lot of things where we can develop our activities. If we go back to what SIETAR stands for, which is intercultural education, training, and research, every one of those fields can become a specialty, as it were, and we'll need then volunteers to come and join to develop those activities.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong about this, and I may well be wrong, but are we talking about SIETAR with a capital T? That is the training. The T seems to me to be a larger part of SIETAR than the E or the R. That is to say, training and trainers form a larger part of what SIETAR is and does than the education and research. Now, I'm aware of some organisations which exist outside SIETAR to bring together researchers and educationalists, and my experience in SIETAR is perhaps out of date here, but it seems to be very, very popular with practitioners and trainers, but perhaps not so much activity with researchers and educationalists. What has been your experience in SIETAR?
Education, yes, we have membership for students, and they are in various universities. We have universities that are members of SIETAR, and we also have a corporate membership. So we try and attract members or listeners from all sort of walks of life, and the education is part of, because when you join SIETAR, you're a trainer or you're intercultural coach, or but you can learn from your colleagues in exchanging, going to webinars. We had a webinar recently on understanding intercultural, which was mainly addressed to trainers for immigrants, and so it's there is a fair bit of education and sharing of information in SIETAR.
Well, Guy, I thought I knew SIETAR before our conversation today, but I've learnt a ton of new stuff about what SIETAR does. So thank you so much for sharing that, and also thank you for the impact you're having through your volunteering work at SIETAR. It's been fascinating to hear. Now, no one escapes from the being a guest on the Intercultural Toolbox podcast without depositing something into that toolbox. So it's my moment to ask you, Guy Bondonneau, or should I say Guy Bondonneau?
Yes.
What is your contribution to the Intercultural Toolbox?
My contribution is to have an open mind, and a little story comes to mind talking about open mind. When we were children and I was growing up, my mother, Swedish, decided that we had to understand other people and we had to share their experience. So in some cases, when possible, we would take their place. For example, we would take the place of the cleaner. So we understood what the cleaner had to go through during a working day. And it established, it opened the mind, because then I carried on, especially when I was doing interior design. You walk into somebody's life, you walk into somebody's house, and I would have to ask a lot of indiscreet questions to discover the person. So again, open the mind, be receptive to whatever or whoever is in front of you. And sometimes I would think, well, I had a client who wanted a pink bedroom as a man. I thought, as a Westerner, I didn't think it was correct, but I thought, are you sure you really want a pink bedroom? He said, yes, and I want a round bed. So I thought, well, anyway, so that was quite a task, because the rest of the flat was much more masculine. But again, I had an open mind. I didn't say, no, this is all wrong, you can't do that. I said, why not? If that's what he wants, if that's the way he thinks, then yes, by all means, let's have a pink bedroom. And it was difficult to achieve, but it worked. So that is my tool. Keep an open mind and look outside. Don't look at you, look at outside. Knowing who you are, because if you don't know who you are, you won't be any good to the outside world.
Well, this way of keeping your mind open to others' experiences is a very powerful way of working as an interculturalist. If you occasionally switch roles and walk in someone else's shoes. So thank you very much for sharing that. Listen, Guy, I think people are going to want to get in touch with you, perhaps even to step up into the role of the IT person for SIETAR UK. But in whatever conversation they want to start with you, what is the best way to contact you?
There are two ways of contacting me. One is my email address, which is guy@intercultural.com, and my phone number, which keeps, apologies, it has not stopped ringing, which is +44 79 8442 3140. Thank you.
Well, that's very open of you, sharing your phone number and email address. Thank you so much for that. I warn you that people listen to this podcast in many different time zones, so that phone could ring at almost any time of day or night. But you're there in London mostly, so I'm hoping that it doesn't disturb your sleep, but people are now very much able to get in contact with you. So thank you very much for coming and being on the Intercultural Toolbox podcast. And I wish you all the best in your continued volunteering for SIETAR.
Thank you very much for asking me, and it's been a real pleasure talking with you and sharing some thoughts as I could.